They broke you, didn't they? Not with fists, not with weapons, but with words, with betrayal, with a silent treatment that cut deeper than any blade ever could. You lie awake at 3 a.m., replaying the conversation, analyzing every word you said, wondering what you did wrong. Your chest feels heavy. Your mind won't stop. And the worst part? They're probably sleeping peacefully. While you're here, tearing yourself apart, you've tried everything, you defended yourself, explained your position, sent that long message at 2 a.m. hoping they'd finally understand. And what happened? Nothing, or worse. They used your vulnerability against you, turned your honesty into ammunition, made you feel weak for even caring. Here's what nobody tells you. The reason it hurts so much isn't because you're weak. It's because you're still playing by rules that were designed to keep you powerless. You were taught that communication solves everything, that expressing your feelings shows strength, that if you just explain yourself clearly enough, they'll finally see your worth. They lied to you, and Marcus Aurelius knew it. 1,900 years ago. Picture this. You're the most powerful man on earth. You rule an empire that stretches from Britain to Egypt. You command the greatest military force ever assembled. And yet, your own generals whisper behind your back. Your wife is rumored to be unfaithful. Your son is a disappointment who will destroy everything you built. Plague ravages your cities. Barbarians assault your borders. And the men you trusted most, the ones you elevated to power, are plotting against you. You can't escape. You can't quit. You can't even show weakness, because the moment you do, the empire crumbles, millions die, and your legacy becomes ash. So what do? Most men would break. Most men would rage. Most men would become paranoid tyrants who trust no one and destroy everything in their path. But Marcus Aurelius did something different. Something that made him psychologically untouchable. Something that turned his mind into a fortress that no betrayal could penetrate. He developed 7 mental weapons, 7 cognitive tools that transformed his relationship with suffering, and he wrote them down in private journals never meant for public eyes. Documentation of his internal war, his survival strategy, his path from breaking point to unbreakable. And here's what changes everything. These weren't theories. These weren't philosophical abstractions. These were tactical responses to real betrayal, real loss, real psychological warfare, tools forged in the fire of leading an empire while surrounded by enemies. You're facing the same war, different battlefield, same principles. Your empire might be smaller, but your mind is the only territory that truly matters. And right now you're losing it one sleepless night at a time, one overthought conversation at a time, one person who doesn't deserve your mental energy, taking up permanent residence in your head. The question isn't whether you're strong enough. The question is, are you tired enough of being vulnerable? Are you done giving people access to your peace? Are you ready to learn what Rome's greatest emperor knew about psychological invincibility? Because what I'm about to show you isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming calm. It's not about not caring. It's about not being controlled. It's not about isolation. It's about insulation. Building a mind so fortified that betrayal bounces off, disrespect slides past, and chaos swirls around you while you remain unmoved. Marcus Aurelius called it the inner citadel, a fortress of the mind that no external force can breach. And he built it one mental weapon at a time, while the world was literally falling apart around him. You're about to learn those 7 weapons, not as ancient history, but as modern survival tools. Because the Stoics weren't philosophers debating in ivory towers. They were warriors, leaders, men under unimaginable pressure, documenting what actually works when everything is falling apart. And what worked for an emperor will work for you. But first, you need to understand why everything you've tried has failed, why your current approach is giving your power away, why the more you engage, the weaker you become. That's what most men don't see. And that blindness is costing you everything. You think communication is the answer, don't you? They told you, express your feelings. set boundaries, have an honest conversation. And you believed them, you opened up, you explained how their behavior affected you. You set clear boundaries, you communicated. And what happened? They didn't respect your boundaries. They used your honesty as a roadmap to hurt you more effectively. They learned exactly which buttons to push. And every word you said, every boundary you set, every feeling you expressed gave them more power over you. Here's the truth they don't want you to know. Every time you react, you lose. Every time you defend yourself, you validate their attack. Every time you explain, you're asking for permission to feel what you already feel. And that's exactly what they want. Because here's what nobody tells you about toxic people. Manipulators, emotional vampires. They're not looking for understanding. They're looking for supply. They feed on your reactions. Your anger feeds them. Your sadness feeds them. Even your calm explanation feeds them. Because attention, any attention, is what they came for. You think you're setting boundaries. You're actually giving them a show. You think you're expressing strength. You're actually revealing vulnerabilities. You think you're solving the problem. You're actually perpetuating it. The trap is this. You were raised to believe that every problem has a communication-based solution. That if two people just talk it out, understanding emerges, resolution happens, peace returns. But what happens when the other person doesn't want resolution? What happens when chaos is their comfort zone? What happens when your suffering is their entertainment? You keep trying, that's what happens. You keep explaining, you keep defending, you keep engaging, and they keep feeding, keep pushing, keep winning. Because the game was rigged from the start, and you didn't even know you were playing. Marcus Aurelius watched this pattern destroy men around him. Senators who defended themselves against false accusations, only to look guilty, generals who engaged with political enemies, only to be outmaneuvered, good men who thought honesty and integrity would protect them, only to be crushed by those who had neither. And he recognized something crucial, something that changes everything. The battle isn't an external world. The battle is for your mind. And every minute you spend thinking about them, analyzing their behavior, crafting the perfect response, wondering why they're like this, you're losing because they're living rent-free in your head, controlling your emotional state, dictating your inner peace, while barely thinking about you at all. They say something disrespectful. You spend 3 hours formulating a response. They send a cryptic text. You spend all day analyzing what it means. They give you the silent treatment. You torture yourself wondering what you did wrong. See the pattern? One arrow, 1,000 wounds. Because you keep pulling it deeper, examining it, showing it to everyone, asking, why would they do this? While the wound get infected with overthinking, with rumination, with the poison of giving a damn what they think. And here's the part that stings. They're not doing this because you're weak. They're doing this because you're strong enough to take it. You're stable enough to absorb their chaos. You're kind enough to keep giving chances. And they know it, so they keep taking and taking and taking until there's nothing left. But what if I told you there's a different way? What if the solution isn't better communication, but strategic silence? Not stronger boundaries, but complete withdrawal? Not explaining yourself, but becoming unexplainable? What if the path to psychological invincibility isn't about winning arguments, but about refusing to enter the arena? Not about being understood, but about becoming unreachable? Not about changing them, but about changing your relationship with their behavior entirely? This is where most men fail. They understand the concept intellectually, but emotionally, they're still addicted to the fight, still hoping for that moment of recognition, that apology, that validation. And that hope, that's the chain that keeps you trapped. Marcus Aurelius faced worse, far worse. And he discovered something that made him untouchable, not through force, not through retaliation, but through 7 mental weapons that transformed his psychology from vulnerable to invincible. These weren't defense mechanisms. These were offensive tools, ways of thinking that didn't just protect him from psychological attacks, but made him immune to them, made the attacks irrelevant, made the attackers powerless. And the beautiful irony, the moment you stop caring about their opinion is the moment they start caring about yours. The moment you withdraw your presence is when they realize what they lost. The moment you become psychologically untouchable is when you become genuinely powerful. But you can't fake this. You can't pretend, because they'll sense it and they'll push harder. You have to genuinely transform your relationship with external validation, with their approval, with the need to be understood. Marcus Aurelius sat in his tent, the Germanic frontier, 170 AD, rain hammering the leather walls, the sound of a dying soldier being carried past. The weight of 70 million lives on his shoulders, and he opened his journal, not to record victories, not to write public philosophy, but to talk himself off the ledge, to remind himself of what's real, to rebuild his mind after another day of betrayal and chaos. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength." But here's what makes this powerful. He wasn't writing this from a position of strength. He was writing it from a position of breaking. This wasn't a motivational speech. This was a survival technique. A man literally using philosophy as a psychological weapon against the war happening in his own mind. And the first weapon he developed, the one that made everything else possible, weapon one, the dichotomy of control, not as a concept, but as a filter, a way of sorting every single thought into two categories. Is this in my control or is it not? Their opinion of you? Not in your control. Your reaction to their opinion? Completely in your control. Their behavior? Not in your control. Your response to their behavior? Entirely in your control. Whether they apologize? Not in your control. Whether you need their apology to move forward? Absolutely in your control. Sounds simple, but here's where it gets deadly. Most men understand this intellectually, but emotionally, they're still investing energy in the not in control column, still thinking about it, still hoping, still caring, and that's where they lose. Marcus Aurelius made this ruthless. Any thought about something outside his control, cut off immediately, like a gardener removing weeds. No analysis, no rumination, no, but maybe if I just cut. And what happened? His mind became unavailable for occupation. Toxic people couldn't live there anymore because he stopped giving them mental real estate, stopped paying attention rent to people who didn't deserve a free thought. Weapon two, negative visualization. Every morning, before the Senate, before the military briefings, before dealing with the chaos of empire, Marcus Aurelius practiced something dark, something most people won't do because it's uncomfortable. He imagined everything going wrong, his son betraying him, his wife's infidelity becoming public, his generals turning traitor, the empire falling, everything he built crumbling to dust, and then he sat with it, felt it, accepted it, until the fear lost its power, until the worst-case scenario became just another scenario, not something to avoid, but something he'd already survived mentally. This wasn't pessimism. This was psychological armor. Because when you've already lost everything in your mind, nobody can threaten you with loss. When you've already imagined the worst, their petty manipulations become laughable. They threaten to leave. You've already imagined life without them and survived. They withdraw approval. You've already lived without it in your mind and thrived. They try to make you jealous, insecure, afraid. You've already sat with those feelings in meditation, metabolized them, and came out stronger. Weapon three, the view from above. Marcus Aurelius would mentally zoom out from his problems to the city, to the empire, to the continent, to the earth, to the cosmos, until his urgent crisis became a tiny blip in infinite time and space. He wrote, Asia and Europe, corners of the universe, the ocean, a drop of water, Mount Athos, a lump of earth, the present moment, a point in eternity, all things small, changeable, evanescent. Sounds abstract? Here's how you weaponize it. They disrespected you at work? Zoom out. In 100 years, everyone in that room will be dead. In 1,000 years, your company won't exist. In 1,000,000 years, humanity might be gone. Does this moment, in this tiny sliver of infinite time, deserve to control your emotional state? Not about minimizing your pain, about putting it in perspective, about refusing to give temporary problems permanent space in your psychology. And here's what's beautiful. When you genuinely grasp this, their manipulation attempts become almost comical. They're trying to control something that doesn't matter in a time frame that's irrelevant. Using tactics that only work if you believe this moment is everything, but you know better now. Weapon 4, Amor Fati, love of fate. This is where Marcus Aurelius became truly dangerous. He didn't just accept what happened. He loved it. Every betrayal, every setback, every loss, he reframed as necessary, as perfect, as exactly what needed to happen for him to become who he needed to be. He wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." Someone betrays you? Good. Now you know who they really are. Someone disrespects you? Perfect. They just revealed their character. Someone leaves? Excellent. They made space for someone better. Not delusional positivity. Strategic reframing. Refusing to be a victim. By redefining every attack as an advantage, every obstacle as opportunity, every enemy as teacher. And when you do this genuinely, you become untouchable, because there's no move they can make that you won't transform into fuel. The remaining 3 weapons, they build on these foundations, and they're what transform you from defended to genuinely dangerous, from surviving to thriving, from reactive to unshakable. But understanding the weapons isn't enough. You need the system, the framework, the exact process to build these into your daily psychology, until they're not techniques you use, but who you are. Now we build, now we forge these weapons into an operational system, because Marcus Aurelius didn't just know these principles, he lived them. And here's how you do the same. Weapon 5, premeditation of adversity. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you enter the chaos, you run a simulation. You predict exactly what will test you today, and you script your response in advance. You know they're going to make that passive-aggressive comment in the meeting. Script it now. When they say X, I don't react. I don't defend. I pause 3 seconds, and I redirect the agenda. My face shows nothing. My body language shows calm. My energy shows I didn't even register the attack. You know your ex is going to post something designed to make you jealous? Script it now. When I see it, I observe my initial reaction. I name the emotion. This is jealousy trying to emerge. I don't suppress it. I let it arise. I watch it, and I let it pass like a wave, and then I close the app, and I move to the next task. Marcus Aurelius did this before every Senate session, every military campaign, every interaction with people he knew would try to manipulate him. He pre-lived the challenge and programmed his response. So when it happened, it wasn't a surprise, it was a rehearsed performance. Level 1, morning mental armor, 5 minutes. Sit, close your eyes. Ask yourself, what will test me today? Who will try to steal my peace? What situation might trigger my old reactive patterns? See it clearly, the person, the situation, the trigger, and then script your response. When trigger happens, I will stoic response. I will feel expected emotion. I will not react to behavior. I will instead empowered action. Repeat it 3 times. Visualize it perfectly. See yourself executing with calm. And you've just installed the program. When the moment comes, your brain runs a script, not the old pattern. Weapon 6, the discipline of assent. This is where you become truly dangerous. Every thought that enters your mind, you examine before you accept it, like a border guard checking passports. Is this thought true? Is it helpful? Do I consent to believing this? They say you're not good enough. Your mind starts to spiral. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am. Stop. Discipline of assent activates. Do I consent to this thought? Is there evidence? Am I going to believe someone who clearly doesn't have my best interest at heart? No consent given, thought rejected at the border, doesn't enter your psychological territory. This is what made Marcus Aurelius untouchable. People could say anything, and he'd examine it like a scientist. Interesting hypothesis. Do I have evidence supporting this? No? Then I don't accept it. Next thought. Level 2, the 3-second gateway. Throughout the day, between stimulus and response, you insert 3 seconds. Someone says something designed to hurt. 3 seconds before you respond. 3 seconds to run the filter. 3 seconds to choose your reaction rather than be controlled by it. During those 3 seconds, you ask, is this true? Is this helpful? Do I consent to feeling this? And most of the time, the answer is no, and the emotion loses its power because you didn't give it permission to enter. Practice this with everything. News headlines designed to enrage you, social media posts designed to make you envious, comments designed to hurt you. 3 seconds. Examine, accept or reject. You choose. Weapon 7, the inner citadel. This is the ultimate weapon, the fortress of your mind that no external force can breach. Marcus Aurelius wrote, dig within. Within is a fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up. If you will ever dig, your peace, your worth, your strength doesn't come from external validation. It comes from internal alignment when you build this fortress correctly. People's opinions become weather. Storms come, storms go. The citadel stands. Here's how you build it. Level 3, foundations of the citadel daily practice. Morning ritual. Before the world gets access to you, you reinforce the walls. My worth is not determined by others' opinions. My peace is not dependent on external circumstances. My strength comes from my alignment with reason. I am the emperor of my inner world, and I will not allow invaders. Midday check-in. Set an alarm for 12 p.m. When it goes off, ask yourself, have I maintained sovereignty over my mind today? What external thing am I giving too much power to? What thought have I allowed to occupy my citadel without permission? Evict the intruders. Reinforce the walls. Evening reflection. Marcus Aurelius did this every night. Reviewed his day. Where did I give my power away? Where did I react instead of respond? Where did someone breach my psychological walls? Not to judge himself, but to identify weaknesses and strengthen them for tomorrow. Level 4, embodiment. The final transformation. This is where techniques become identity, where conscious practice becomes unconscious mastery, where you don't use stoic weapons. You are a stoic weapon. You're in a conversation. Someone tries to bait you, and you don't think, I should use the discipline of assent here. You just don't take the bait. Your system automatically rejects it, like your body automatically fights infection. No conscious thought required. This is what Marcus Aurelius achieved. Philosophy wasn't something he studied. It was how he breathed. Every thought filtered through Stoic principles automatically. Every reaction measured against reason instinctively. Every challenge met with unshakable calm naturally. And you get there through repetition, through practicing these weapons daily until they're not techniques. They're who you are, the daily stack, your operational system. 5:30 a.m. mental armor. Premeditate today's challenges. Script your responses throughout day. 3-second gateway. Filter every thought. Examine every emotion. 12 p.m. Citadel check. Reinforce boundaries. Evict mental invaders. 9 p.m. Evening reflection. Review, learn, strengthen for tomorrow. Every day, without exception, for 90 days, and you will be unrecognizable to yourself, to others, to the people who used to control you with a single word. Because you're not just learning philosophy, you're forging a new operating system for your mind, one that's immune to manipulation, invulnerable to chaos, and completely, utterly, psychologically untouchable. But understanding the system isn't enough. You need to see what happens when you actually live this way, when these weapons become your default, when you embody what Marcus Aurelius achieved. 6 months from now, You walk into a room, and something's different. People sense it. They can't name it, but they feel it. You're not trying to prove anything. You're not seeking validation. You're not monitoring the room for approval. You're just there, fully present, completely calm. And it's magnetic because authentic power, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself, is rare, and people are drawn to rarity. Someone makes a passive-aggressive comment. The old you would have spent 3 hours analyzing it. The new you register it, process it in 0.3 seconds through your Stoic filter. Realize it's not worth your mental energy, and let it dissolve like rain on glass, observed but unable to penetrate. Your face doesn't change. Your energy doesn't shift. You respond to the content, ignore the subtext, and move on. And that person, they feel it. The attack landed on nothing, bounced off, had zero impact. And they don't try again, because manipulators only continue when they get supply. You just cut off their source. This is what psychological invincibility looks like in practice. Not aggression, not coldness, just unshakable calm in the face of chaos. You remain unmoved. Your ex posts something clearly designed to make you jealous. You see it. You notice the small tug of emotion trying to emerge. You observe it. There's the old pattern trying to activate. You watch it, like watching clouds pass, and then it's gone, and you scroll past. No anger, no sadness, no second thought, just indifference, genuine indifference. And something shifts in the universe, because they posted that for a reaction. They needed your emotional response. They were feeding on the idea of you suffering, and you gave them nothing. You took away their power. By refusing to give them your energy, that night, they checked to see if you reacted. Nothing. They post again. Nothing. They send a subtle message. You read it. You don't respond. Not to punish them, not to play games. Simply because you have nothing to say. Your life has moved forward, and they're not part of it. Not out of hatred, out of complete irrelevance. This is the transformation. From reactive to selective, from available to scarce, from seeking to settled. At work, the colleague who used to undermine you tries their usual tactic, questions your competence in the meeting. The old you defend, explain, justify. The new you pause 3 seconds. You recognize the attempt, and you respond with facts. No emotion, no defensiveness, just data delivered with the calm of someone who doesn't need to prove anything, because you know your worth, and their opinion isn't part of the equation anymore. And here's what's beautiful. They escalate because it used to work, so they push harder, and you remain calm, and everyone in the room sees it, sees them becoming emotional, sees you remaining steady, and the power dynamic shifts permanently, because Marcus Aurelius was right. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. You're not becoming cold. You're becoming clear. You're not building walls. You're building filters. You're not closing off. You're choosing wisely. And that selectivity, that's the real power. 3 months into this practice, someone who hurt you badly reaches out, apologizes, wants you back in their life, and you read the message, and you feel nothing, no anger, no vindication, no satisfaction, just acknowledgement. This happened, and it's over. You're polite, you're kind, but you're not available, not because you're punishing them, but because you've evolved past that season. You're not the person they hurt anymore. You've rebuilt your entire psychological framework. And the old dynamics, they don't work on this new architecture. This is what the inner Citadel creates. A version of you that impervious to the manipulation that destroyed your old self, because the old self needed external validation, sought approval, feared rejection, and that need, that's what gave them the power to hurt you. But you've cut the roots of that need through daily practice, through relentless filtering of thoughts, through refusal to give mental energy to things outside your control. And now you're free, genuinely free, not because nothing hurts you, but because you built a system that processes pain, extracts a lesson, and releases a suffering. Late night, you're alone, and for the first time in years, you're not scrolling, not seeking distraction, not running from your thoughts. You're just sitting in complete peace with yourself, and it feels unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable, because you're so used to chaos, to anxiety, to the constant noise of worrying what others think. But now, silence. And in that silence, you realize you've won, not against them, against a version of yourself that gave them power, against the patterns that kept you trapped, against the conditioning that made you believe your worth was negotiable. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his final entries, "You've wandered everywhere looking for happiness, but it was available all along in your own mind." And you finally understand what he meant, because the power wasn't out there in their validation, in their approval, in their recognition. It was always here, in your ability to choose your thoughts, to filter your reactions, to build a fortress of mind that no external storm can breach. This is your inheritance. As a man walking the path the Stoics carved 2,000 years ago, you're not alone in this. You're joining a lineage of warriors, of emperors, of slaves who became philosophers, of men who faced impossible odds and chose to control the only thing they could, their minds. And from that choice, everything else followed: power, peace, purpose, not given to them by the world, generated from within and maintained through daily practice, through relentless commitment to psychological sovereignty. The 7 weapons aren't just tools. They're the foundation of a new identity. From victim to victor, from reactive to unshakable, from psychologically vulnerable to absolutely, completely untouchable. Welcome to the Citadel. You built it one thought at a time, one boundary at a time, one refusal to give power away at a time. And now you stand in it, looking at the chaos outside and feeling nothing but calm. This is what Marcus Aurelius achieved while ruling an empire in collapse. And this is what you achieve while navigating a world designed to steal your peace. Same weapons, different war, same outcome, unbreakable. The question was never, can you become psychologically invincible? The question was always, are you willing to do what it takes? And if you've read this far, if you felt the truth resonating in these words, if you're tired of being vulnerable to people who don't deserve access to your mind, then you already know the answer, and your transformation has already begun.